I was standing in an air-conditioned room with a folder in my hand in such a way that it hides all the sweat stains forming all over my shirt. I was next in line at the Mumbai office of the US Embassy. Twice in the past, my visa had been rejected. And this was the last time I tried to gain legal entry into the US because after this, man, I had plans to fold myself in a luggage and check myself in a cargo plane. I imagined my girlfriend on the other side in Chicago also sweating bullets, even though it was winter there. All I wanted was to be with her. The immigration officer gestured at me. Number 277, he called out. That was all that I was to him, a random computer generated number. He didn't care that I had spent thousands of dollars in fees and suffered all this humiliation twice of being told that I didn't deserve to be with my family. I didn't deserve to be here. And why would he care? To him, I was just a number. I I figured what I was up against, this dehumanization. I needed to bring myself forward, not this number, but this human being, this person with hopes and dreams and aspirations, and believe it or not, a girlfriend on the other side waiting for him. And your decision today, sir, impacts all of that. So I changed my strategy this time. In the past, I would submit my documents and let that make my case. But this time, I told my story. I just went up to the immigration officer and I told him about Whitney, my girlfriend who I met in the foothills of the Himalayas. I told him about the 200-kilometer mountain we traveled together to the top of in Nepal for our first date. I told him about the sweet, silly sounding nicknames in Hindi I had for her. I told him about how I thought she was the most beautiful person I had seen, not even the most beautiful woman, just period. I told him about that moment when we together realized that this concept of soulmates is not geographically restricted. Then something really bizarre happened in that interview room. The immigration officer looked at me. He was looking at me. Until now, immigration officers wouldn't even like lift their eyes from the documents before rejecting my case. But this guy, he had put his folder away and he was just taking me all in, sweat stains and all. And very soon he started asking these follow-up questions that I suspect have nothing to do with his job, but only because he was seemingly interested. And they weren't the usual questions. Do you have a arrest record, a criminal record? This guy was all, and how did your parents react to it? And are you guys planning one of those fancy, colorful Indian weddings? Spoiler alert, I did get the US visa. But what changed this time? Stories. Our stories are such a powerful and renewable resource. Best of the best lawyers, entrepreneurs, activists sway opinions in their favor by telling their personal stories. Now, you might think, what does one story, one personal story, one experience affect? Let's pick a scenario. Say you want to convince a person or a group about something that you really believe in, climate change, mental health. Now, conventional wisdom tells us to make a PowerPoint presentation and then cram that PPT with as much data as you possibly can find, and then sprinkle statistics and jargons like syndication to come across as credible. But how effective is it in convincing anybody of anything? When was the last time you sat on the other end of such a presentation and actually actively changed your belief about something? As effective as arguing with strangers on the internet, isn't it? What's missing here is empathy, that feeling when you relate to, identify with, and actually care about a person. With storytelling, we declutter all that impersonal data and get back to our original form of communication, sharing our lived experiences. And this is how it works. Stories humanize an issue. It is easier to look away from stats and easier to dismiss data. But I am hardwired to care about you, and so are you. You can turn away from news reports from a war-torn country, but a single image of a child and the story that it tells, you can't look away from. Stories are memorable. You might forget the statistics on the opioid crises, but the story of a single person who has struggled with addiction, that will remain ingrained in your brain. We form bonds through stories. What happens when two strangers sit across each other and share stories from their past? They grow vulnerable and closer. This is so powerful that couples counselors will assign this as a task to even partners who know each other, because this strengthens bonds, and strong bonds foster collaboration. And lastly, stories are just fun to say and fun to listen to. And I'm here to remind you that we are all born storytellers. Like, seriously, as a child, you told stories way before you could even put a whole sentence together. All I'm saying is to use data to make your point instead of letting the data carry that conversation. And also to remember that your stories count. Thank you.